ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 10th edition of Beyond the Headlines. My name is Colin Dowe, and I'll be serving as your host this evening. We start this evening, as we do every Monday evening, with thank yous. Thank you for giving a part of your Monday evening to be with us on Beyond the Headlines. So whether you're tuned in to GBN Television, listening on GBN Radio, or logged on utilizing any of our social media platforms, we are certainly happy to have you with us as we discuss the development of our water facilities in Grenada. I have three honorable gentlemen who will be sharing of their knowledge on their work, on the ongoing projects as you would witness them. The Planning and Development Manager, Mr. Whyme Cox, the consultant on the project or project coordinator is the branding, Mr. Nigel John, and the senior engineer, Mr. Ronald Layne. Gentlemen, welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
We've heard conversations that this is probably the largest investment in the water infrastructure for the last 70 plus years. Let me start off with you, Mr. Cox, and if you would share just an overview of the ongoing investment in the water infrastructure in Grenada.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. It's always a pleasure to be here on GBN to inform the nation as to what's happening. And in recent years, NAWASA has been privileged to be in receipt of grant funding to aid advancement and development in the water sector. We're currently implementing two major projects, and persons would see the infrastructure development south, central, north of the island as far as Karaku pipe infrastructure is going on in the ground. In addition to that, we continue to implement our annual CapEx program, which normally range in the vicinity of $10 to $15 million every year into the water sector development. So across the island, you would see major developments happening, from storage tanks, pipeline installation, and a lot is going into technological advancement as well across the island.
You mentioned grant funding. Where did we source these grant funds? And that's a whole lot better than hearing the word loan.
Well, the two major projects, and most persons would have heard about them. We have the South St. George Water Supply Expansion Project that is funded by the UKCIF, the UK Caribbean Infrastructure Partnership Fund, UKCIF, and of course the famous Grenada Climate Resilient Water Sector Project, the G-Cruise project, which is funded by the Green Climate Fund in partnership with GIZ, the German Development Corporation, and the government of Grenada. And as I mentioned, we have our CapEx, our capital expenditure, which NAWASA, from its return sales, etc., we reinvest annually some $10 to $15 million into the infrastructure annually. Pipelines, additional storage, as it were, whatever we deem necessary to advance and make sure that our distribution, supply, etc., is more effective across the island.
You mentioned 10 to 15 in terms of capital projects, and that will be coming from the NAWASA coffers.
Correct.
The UKCIF and G-Cruise, what type of money are we speaking of in terms of those grants?
The UKCIF is in the vicinity of 22 million USD, and the G-Cruise project was a total grant of 48 million euros.
Okay, all right.
And I'm always curious about consumption. How much water, because you know we always seem to be short on water, so give us some indication, and probably can look at the daily rates. What do we produce as Grenada through NAWASA? What do we consume as Grenadians, and is there a mismatch there?
Well, no mismatch. The reality sits before us. It continues. During the rainy season, we produce sufficient water to supply the nation. During the dry season, we don't produce sufficient. So on a daily basis, we produce in the vicinity of 8 million gallons per day. That's imperial gallons per day. During the dry season, that sometimes goes down by about $2 million. We produce anywhere between 5-6 million gallons per day. The unfortunate thing is that during the dry season, our consumption even goes up because people, with the lack thereof of rain, you find farmers, more people, there's absolutely more demand on our network. So that's just the reality of it. So what happens? We get into valve regulation and so on and so on and so forth. Now, year in, year out, we continue to sing the same song, present the same story. So and that is what gave rise to NAWASA looking for the investments, and we've luckily gotten some of those. And I always say this on this program, it is not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve all NAWASA's issues, but it's definitely going to better our distribution, our supply as we enter the dry periods.
So, if I heard you correctly, we produce rainy season circa 8 million gallons per day. Dry season, that drops to about 6 million. What, on average, will be our consumption? I also noted that you said during the dry season, when water is short, our consumption increases. But let's say during the rainy season, what is the consumption? What's the demand on NAWASA?
The demand on NAWASA, it's in and around that sort of capacity, 8 million gallons a day. We still limit the supply because our priority is always to ensure that our communities have water. So you find that we encourage the hoteliers, etc., to have their storage, have their supply, because we tend to limit. SGU is one of our biggest customers, and we can't ever give SGU the quantum of water that they need. So they have their internal production as well. So if we produce more, people are going to use more. Yeah, but unfortunately, our water resources are also quite limited. And have been and continue to monitor that in a major way. You would have seen under the G-Cruise project, we would have introduced the creation of the Water Resources Management Unit. All in all, just looking at how we could better capitalize and ensure that the water resources within the island, we are capturing them, we're not exploiting them, etc., as the case may be. So we appreciate that we have a responsibility to the nation, which is to ensure that, and our goal continues to be 24/7 supply. We're still quite away from that because, as I say, dry season we produce in far less than the demand. But again, we understand our responsibility, and we're continuing year after year to see how we could bridge that gap. And again, it's what gave rise to all of the projects that we're implementing now to enhance conveyance, make sure that we have better infrastructure, and some of the projects are geared to additional production as well, so to kind of bridge the gap during the dry season.
Okay, Ronald, as I understand it, you're Mr. G-Cruise.
Thanks.
Well, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. So, describe what exactly is being done in St. Andrew, and I'm deliberately capturing the entire parish, and I know you will go through from the Marybold to the Tufton Hall projects, etc., that you're doing. But so, as we look at St. Andrew, because a lot of work is ongoing, started first. So let us hear what are some of the projects and what are the goals.
So under the G-Cruise Group 1 project, we actually call it Group 1 because there are two projects, Group 1 and Group 2. But in this G-Cruise Group 1 project, it consists of actually the Marybold tank and the Peggy's Whyme tank. These two tanks are actually part of a larger network, which we have a pipework network that actually joins the whole system together. Now, the Marybold tank is actually completed. It's a 500,000 gallon tank, and the Peggy's Whyme tank is partially completed. It's almost completed. Right? We expect it to be finished before the end of the month, and that's another 500,000 gallon tank. But this network is joined with a 6-meter long piping network. The piping network right now to date has
You said 6 meter.
6,000.
Okay.
6,000 meters, sorry. Right? Piping network that is actually completed to date. Right? We are still doing the infrastructure work right now, like let's say about like the road asphalt paving part.
So just go in terms of the piping, where is the piping running from and to?
Right, so it leaves the Marabou tank. It comes along through the St. Cloud Junction by the bridge. It comes along that road through Grand Bras. It goes on to Canal Road, up to Progress Park, then to Dunfermline, then from Dunfermline to Moya, then from Moya to I think you'll call it Bamboo Bridge, right? And then from Bamboo Bridge to Tivoli.
Okay.
Right? Now, what we did though is while we were doing this project, we decided now to link the neckwood. So we were just installing the Peggy's Whyme tank alone, which would have sufficed that area. But now we have connected the Peggy's Whyme system with the Marabou system by Tivoli, and now completing the project by the Belmont Junction.
Okay. How far are we from completion? So you said Marabou tank complete, 500, well, 500,000 gallons. By the ending of the month, we should see completion of Peggy Whyme's.
Yes, yes.
That's another 500,000.
Yes.
And the pipe laying is completed?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and at the end of the completion of the Peggy Whyme's, are we going to anticipate pressure testing and the like, or that has already been done, seeing that the pipes have been?
That has already been done. Actually, most of it is already completed. We still have just a final few meters of pressure testing to do, which will be completed very soon. The catch with this project is that all the pipe work that has been completed and pressure tested to date, right, we just wanted to make sure that the system is in full operational compliance, right, so that it don't have no issues, right, when it comes to actually the road reinstatement part of it.
Well, you know, I must go there.
Yeah, I know. I know you're.
So that is why I'm going step by step, deliberately.
I know. That's where you're headed.
To make sure that everything is lined up.
Because you're waiting to hear. So then, if everything is finished, why we haven't paved the road as yet?
Well, the people, not me, but the people of St. Andrew would be very grateful to learn when this will occur. So you're saying that we have not seen full reinstatement of the roads because we haven't had the full completion of these projects. And if we are to discover anything awry, it means that we might be digging roads that we just complete and we try to avoid.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Do we have a sufficient supply to date? Because this seems to be taking care of St. Andrew in particular. Right. Was there a water shortage challenge in St. Andrew? Because I imagine St. Andrew is typically serviced with water collected in terms of reservoirs, St. Andrew, and also can be supplied from St. Patrick as well, correct?
Well, yes, but this project was not just only about a water shortage. It was also about aged pipelines.
Right.
So even though we know we had a bad drought, I think is approximately 2 years ago, right? NAWASA, we all decided that we have to mitigate this problem. These tanks were strategically put there because of the collection point from the reservoirs that we have. It has surplus, so that we realized we can still collect these surplus of water and try to mitigate the dry season drought that we had before, and this time be more prepared for it going forward.
Okay.
As for the aged pipelines, you don't want to be able to distribute this water and we can't deliver it properly.
Right.
So they took the initiative in changing all the old pipelines, which is a system that NAWASA has where that it checks where it has these current leaks that are happening all the time, and by mitigating it, we end up putting in these new pipelines to remedy that leakage problem.
So the supply was adequate, but what you have done is increase your storage to mitigate any challenges that may occur in the dry season and bolster your distribution systems by changing out the pipes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So
if I may, Colin, just to come in here. So Ronald's correct in terms of the age infrastructure is one of the ways, but the project in itself, and again, one of the challenges that we've identified, persons does, and you hear comments about NAWASA always saying store water, and we have storage ourselves. So the project is, as I say, it's climate resilience, and NAWASA in itself has to be resilient. It can't be that from the time the first rain disappear, we starting to tell people, and again, this is what gave rise to all of these things. So the Whyme plant is a generally buoyant plant, meaning that rainy season, dry season, it produces a significant amount of water. One of the challenges, though, with that plant is that, and with most of our plants in the past, is that the storage capacity on the plants was quite tiny. So Whyme probably has like 60,000 gallon storage. So you find that for the slightest reason, that the plant has to stop working, the entire nation is out. So again, the resiliency is that if we have the additional storage, it gives us time to maintain, it gives us time to get to our goal of that 24/7.
Because from what I'm hearing, we're increasing our storage capacity by 1 million gallons.
Well, the entire project,
I'm just talking about these two.
These two is a million gallon for that.
Okay. And what is being stored? Is it raw water, treated water? Treated water. Yeah. Are there any dangers, Ronald, in storing treated water?
Of course.
And can we enter into a situation? I know sometimes there's a worry. One thing goes wrong, and we probably have to run off 500,000 gallons of the treated water. Would it have been better for Grenada to also have increased raw storage water that can be treated, as opposed to having treated water that we can be in danger of having to just throw away, for want of a better term?
Storing untreated water, I'm sorry to say it like this, would be a waste of time. Right? Storing treated water is what you're looking for, the end product. Right? Now, as you know, usually you might hear people tell you when you have a water tank, you can't just keep water stored in it stagnant all the time. Right? So picture we have this large consumption of water, and we pass it through the system where it's being treated. Right? And when I mean being treated, there's the sedimentation tank, there's the filters that treat it before it actually reaches into our clear wells, or our reservoirs, you might want to call it. Right? So these processes that it goes through is what makes it the treated water, and that is what we distribute. To store the water before that, it will just be like holding it back to still pass it through the treatments. It's better running through the system one time and distribute it.
Okay, all right. So from what I've heard is that we have this project primarily increases capacity, and hence the resilience part of the G Cruise.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So I will move away from Mr. G Cruise and move to Sir UKCIF. So Nigel, just give us an overview of the Southern project that is ongoing.
Okay, the Southern St. George Water Supply Expansion Project. That's the nice long name for it. There are several components. A lot of what is focused on right now are the infrastructure components, so I could start with that. And there are two lots. First lot is in Concord and Molineux. In Concord, there would be upgrade to the treatment plant. And I could pause on that for a bit. The treatment plant currently produces about 600,000 gallons per day. The intention is to increase the capacity to about 1 million gallons per day. Now, I say that guarded because it does not mean NAWASA will extract and put into the system 1 million gallons per day, no matter the circumstances. It has to be done sustainably. And we have to ensure that when the abstraction is being done, there is no injury to the downstream ecosystems. There are human ecosystems that depend on like for instance, commercial activity at the falls, vendors, entertainers, restaurateurs, and so on. And, we can't dry the falls. Okay, to put it bluntly. Therefore, as part of the design of the project, there is something called a minimal or environmental flow, and that will be downstream of the intake. the stream gauges shall be installed as part of the project, upstream of the intake, at the intake, and downstream of the intake. And that is to ensure that that environmental flow is maintained, at least the environmental
All right, let me just break it down and see if I'm understanding it well. Part of our tourism product is visiting Concord Falls.
Yes.
If it's Concord waterfalls, water must be falling.
There you go.
So NAWASA has a responsibility while tapping water for consumption.
Of course.
There still is a waterfall in Concord.
And not just the waterfall, because when we go, and that's why I said there's a human ecosystem, but there's also the natural ecosystem.
Right.
There is life downstream, and it goes all the way to the Black Bay Outfall, because if you were to remove the fresh water that goes down and recharge and brings the silt and all of that, then you also damage the marine ecosystem. You create imbalance. So just like it goes one way when there's heavy rainfall and you basically flush and change the salinity, but it's a natural process and it's expected that it must happen. So every time you dry the river, you create some sort of imbalance. Right. And we also have a responsibility to a natural environment. So we have the human ecosystems, the natural ecosystems. So maintaining that flow is to ensure that we don't injure any downstream ecosystems.
Okay.
Right? So when I say about increasing the capacity, the treatment plant will have the capacity to push that much. But right. If it is that we have an extremely dry period, for instance, then we will manage how much we extract from.
So the gauge will be able to tell you this is the minimum that we need to maintain the human and natural ecosystems. Any surpluses NAWASA can tap off.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So if we never have dry periods, then we sailing smooth. But right. It goes dry, and what we will also be doing is increasing or improving the treatment. So right now, what we do is some filtration, and then we have chlorine dosing for purifying. But what happens when you have the heaviest rainfall, and there's always a complaint? Why is it when you have plenty jar water, then you have to shut down the systems? And it's because we all know what happens to our rivers when we have the heaviest rainfall. It gets very muddy, right? Very turbid, as we call it. So the treatment plant is not able to cope with the high levels of siltation, the very muddy water. So the type of treatment.
And just explain to us, please, because this is a problem.
Yes.
I have my white shirts to wash, and I turn on the pipe, and there's no way I'm going to be putting my white shirts in that. I'm talking consumption
in the Nesquik.
Right? Well, it's Nesquik. If not, probably a good cup of black coffee from time to time.
And that is what we're seeking to solve. Because
what causes? Is it the fact that it passes through too quickly through the filtration system? It overruns the reservoir point and then overflows and gets into. What causes it?
Well, the current filters can't handle that sort of turbidity, and there's practically no filter that you would design that would handle that level of turbidity, because when you have very muddy water coming down, basically the plant has to be shut down and is bypassed. Okay, so what you're doing now is that you can't supply through, because NAWASA does not supply raw water. All water supplied by NAWASA is treated water. So when you have to shut down the plant and then you have to do backwashing, basically to clean the filters. So the issue really is not that it's passing through too quickly through a filter, is that the treatment facilities, the filters and so on that we have, cannot handle that sort of muddy water. And quite frankly, no filters can. So what we're introducing in there is now settling tanks or sedimentation tanks, right? So prior to going through the filters, the new filters that we put in, they would be settling tanks so that you get most of that mud out of the water.
If I'm understanding, you tap it off into separate ponds, if I'm
separate
to use
tanks, yes.
or tanks.
There will be tanks.
Allow it to settle, and then you pipe it back into
through the filters, and then it goes through for the purification, like the dosing, and then it goes into the water tank.
Okay.
Now, there is only, on the Concord system, there's only one tank, and that's up at the Concord treatment plant. It's about 360,000 gallons.
Okay.
Now, what happens at Molineux? Down at Molineux, 2 tanks of similar size shall be built. So basically, the storage capacity within that network would be tripled.
Okay.
And it is going back to what would have been mentioned by Cox and Layne with respect to increasing resilience. Because right now, the storage, you say you like the numbers, so the storage we have is less than a day's consumption in the southern network. So when you have to shut down the plant because you have high turbidity and that kind of thing, before you can sometimes get that plant back up and running after backwashing and doing all of that, you already run out of water because the tank run dry or it's almost dry. So by tripling the storage in that network, it gives you additional water already in the network, treated water, already in the network that you can immediately distribute. And that is one of the dangers of storing untreated water, where if you have to shut the plant down, then that plant is not available to run through the raw water when the water is needed immediately. So the raw water storage in our systems are really where our intakes are by our dams. Behind our dams really is the raw water storage on the island. But what we put into the big tanks, the reservoirs, would be treated water, which will be immediately available for distribution should we need to use what's in our tanks, similar to how we have water ready for use in our own home or office storage. You want it immediately available for use. We're also at Concord putting new pipes from the intake down to the treatment plant, and then from the treatment plant down to the road. That's almost done already. It's about between 92 and 94% complete. So that is well on the way, and what we're doing now is working diligently on trying to get the water treatment plant up and running and the tanks at Molineux. So that would be lot 1.
So the tank Concord installed?
Oh, that existed already.
Right, so that one is
and that is not being interfered.
And then we're doing, okay, so the 300,000 in Concord is the 300,000, and we're putting an additional 600,000 in Molineux.
About 720.
720.
Yeah, 360 each.
Okay, in Molineux.
Yeah, that's correct.
Work has started on that as well?
Work has started already. Work has started on all components, yes.
Okay, all right. And that is lot 1?
That's lot 1.
Okay.
Lot 2 is what most of Grenada sees, because it's in your face, and that is from St. George's down to Point
The people in Concord seeing lot 1 and lot 2 continuously, I imagine, as they move from Concord to get to the south of the island.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
All right? So, but they'll be pleased once it's done. They'll be happy to come to the south, because you can turn on the tap in the south and be able to get water just like they do when they turn on in Concord and Brooklyn and Cotomele and so on. So that's the aim. So for lot 2, it's basically new pipelines all the way from Bruce Street, the northern end of Sendal Tunnel.
Right.
All right, all the way down to Point Celine is transmission means. We're not dealing with laterals and that sort of thing. So these are all transmission means, and it's going to be following along the main road. It's important to note that in very few sections of our road is there any easement or space on the side, any verge to run infrastructure. That is why pipes would always be in the road.
Because that, of course, is a concern or observation of citizens.
Yes.
We're laying new pipes back in the road.
Yes.
And the query always would have been, this is an opportunity, see that it's new pipes, for us to move it to the side. It seems logical, but why isn't the logical solution the resolution?
Because there's no space on the side, there's no public land. You would have to acquire people's private property. Just about all the way along, and even part of the Kirani James Boulevard, where there's an obvious verge, grass verge, all the way from near Foodland down to almost to Gleen's Garage. The verge is actually part of the lease held by the Port Louis. So it is, we simply don't have space. The easements, utility easements, as many know it. You will recognize, even in going down the Grandlands, the main road, our busiest road, and economically speaking and commercially speaking, probably the most important road on the island. You will notice there's some sections, if you look at from the Panday, Belmont traffic lights, Panday Junction, and you're going south, if you try to look for a drain, you probably you can't find one, right? Because you are literally going from carriageway where the vehicles drive, and only on one side, only for part of it, there's a sidewalk, and then you have private property. In some areas, the last step from people's houses or shops step down onto the carriageway. So there is simply no room on the side. So you would find all the utilities are, as what we refer to as furniture, in or under the road or attached to bridges and crossings and so on. So the flow would have and Digicel would have the fiber, for instance, under the road. Grand Lake would have wherever they have buried lines is under the road, and NAWASA would have its pipes, both water and sewer pipes, under the road.
I mean, I don't know if you're able to say, but just for an appreciation, if we had to acquire lands to do this, what would be the project overrun, or what would be the additional cost to the project?
Well, I honestly wouldn't be able to say, because there are two general ways to go at it. And that would be, one, to negotiate with every property owner, which means that when we come 2035, we're still negotiating.
Probably 2040 or 70.
Thereabouts, and my great-grandchildren will be stupsing, if they can stups, if they still do that in those days, or they just download a stoops or whatever. And the second way to go at it would be this, the term that nobody ever likes to hear and basically no government wants to use, and that's the eminent domain. And if we go that route and you consider even the type of properties going all the way down, it is something that will be extremely difficult.
We're talking millions if we are to...
No, we're talking... There are probably hundreds of millions. Right? Because there are some properties that are so close that you also have to be taking down structures, build structures. It's not just empty land. It would be built structures. In many instances, they are retaining walls. They are, shops. In some instances, you have guest houses that are practically, next to the road and so on. The offices, you name it, you have it. So even if you were to go the eminent domain way and you were to follow the law, it means that you have to have fair valuation, right? And then you should compensate at least guided by fair valuation. And you want to consider how long it would take that to happen. What we don't have is the time.
Okay, fair enough. It's time we do have time for a commercial break. So what we'll do is that we'll take our first break, and then we'll come back and continue to discuss this UKCIF project. We'll be back shortly.
This is exciting news for all car lovers and car owners. Get ready for Grenada Auto Fest 2026, a car show with a difference, from antique and classic to modern innovations. Saturday, March 14th at the Roy St. John Plainfield in Tantine. Car owners, this is your chance to show off. Get that machine ready. Get that ride in mint condition. It's full throttle face-off between old school rides, the hot rod, and the supercharged modern customized rides. This is a family affair. Bring the kids, bring the crew, bring the whole yard. It's the Grenada Auto Fest 2026 on Saturday, March 14th. Get ready.
Grenada. Exciting news. Oasis Pet and Garden has expanded. In addition to our existing location, we're now open at our new location, Melville Street, St. George's. Now serving you at 2 locations for even more convenience.
At Oasis Pet and Garden, we bring you the best products at the best prices nationwide. Check out our garden department for the best quality Pro Mix potting soil, vegetable seeds, and seedling trays, cocoa peat, liquid fertilizer, granular fertilizers, and more. Our livestock and livestock products are the highest quality and the best prices in Grenada.
Are you longing to taste authentic, flavorful dishes from Thailand? Then look no further. Konthai, the newest restaurant located at the back of Galleria Mall top floor, is the place to satisfy your taste buds for Thai dishes that are well seasoned with fresh local spices. They offer a great selection of sumptuous dishes that will tantalize your taste buds. Visit Konthai today because the food is good, the ambiance is great, and the staff friendly. Available on Carabites and Yogo Grenada. For more information, call 456-0074 or visit konthaigrenada.com or stop by the new Galleria Mall, Grand Anse St. George. I'll meet you there. Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe, nestled in the serene surroundings of Le Phare Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, is the perfect spot to unwind and relax after a stressful event or when you wish to spoil yourself in the most comfortable and relaxing atmosphere. They offer many different massage modalities, including thigh hammer, washer and cupping, signature thigh deep tissue massage, also facials to depuff and tighten pores, deep cleanse full body, hair and nail treatments and more. Take a walk down to the cafe for authentic Thai breakfasts and delicious traditional dishes. Choose from our special mixed drinks, both hot and cold. Opens daily. Visit Asian Spa and Wellness Cafe today, Le Phare Bleu, Calivini Bay, St. George, because you will not regret you did.
Viewers and listeners, you're tuned in, of course, to Beyond the Headlines, and we're discussing water infrastructure development. Nigel, you were sharing with us, and you handled the first part of the UKCIF project. But just if we take a step back and the objectives of this project, who are the ones targeted to be impacted positively by this?
Well, there's a reason why it's called the Southern St. George Water Supply Expansion Project, because what we have, the highest demand for water per capita in the state of Grenada is in Southern St. George area, and it's not difficult to see why. I mean, that's the hotel belt, the major hotel belt. That's where SGU is. That is where not just SGU as a campus, but all those apartments, both of the restaurants, and so on. So there's huge demand, and no water is produced in the Southern St. George region. The closest we have would be wells down in Chemin Basin. So what we have is a situation where, in particular in the driest months, by the way, the summer, as they would say in the more temperate climates, the middle of the year, where it's still coming in, from coming out of Easter, getting to the middle of the year, we're still in the dry season, and that's when you have a lot of visitation coming into Grenada and so on. So the demand from the point of view of visitation is also increased. So what we're trying to do is alleviate the problem that is plaguing the Southern St. George area, where we have inconsistent supply. We are challenged with the water quality, and the volume or the availability of water is also challenged. So basically, the objectives would be to supply consistent, reliable, good quality water of sufficient volume to satisfy the demand.
Okay. So
those are the objectives. But it also has to be done in a sustainable manner, as we were discussing a little early on, and we have to ensure that we build in resilience to some of the shocks. Like the natural shocks and so on that would arise from the natural hazards, storms and that kind of thing that may cause shutting down of the systems, and that is why we're increasing the capacity so that when we do have shutdown, we could continue.
Let me ask you this. So at the end of the day, based on current demands,
yes,
would the people and businesses of South St. George be able to turn on taps and reliably expect a supply from NAWASA?
That is the intention of the project.
Okay.
However, I must hasten to say, when these projects were conceptualized, it was not conceptualized that the UKCIF project alone will realize that. This is being done in conjunction with the G-Crews and the other CapEx projects that are going on. Because one of the things that is happening, for instance, is under the UKCIF project, even though we are not doing anything in Annandale, at the Annandale treatment plant, we are actually connecting to the Annandale plant, to the Annandale system.
Right.
So the two systems, that is the Annandale water supply network, Concord water supply network, would be joined to create what will be now known as a Southern water supply network.
Okay.
And though we have a small main island, we have something like 7 rainfall zones. So there are times when, and we have been seeing it even more frequently now with climate variability, you're driving along and you drive out of rain simply because you reach Belmont intersection or you drive into rain. So there are instances where there is surplus fall in one of the networks and there's a paucity in another network. So the UKCIF project is designed to work or to bring benefit alongside existing infrastructure or other infrastructure.
We talk about sustainability, and we have seen rapid development in the south.
Yes.
Is this project also capable of supplying, if we are to see, let's say, 3 or 4 more hotel projects going to the south, or will that put a strain? In other words, are we building for today, or are we building for the next 30 years?
We're building for tomorrow and the day after that and those grandchildren and so on. However, it is alongside some policy changes that are being made because the resource is finite, and because of the same climate variability, we're not able to use the same sort of models and predict as far forward as we used to once upon a time. So what we're doing, for instance, in some of the policy changes, Cox would have hinted at it. You're building a hotel now, you can't, since the days of Sandals being constructed 12, 13 years ago, on-site production was part of what's required, and all the larger hotels, when they come, they would have to do that. In other words, reverse osmosis systems or that sort of thing, and they would have to have also certain capacity like on-site storage. Right. Because if we were to just allow all hotels, new hotels, you add 250 rooms and you have no production on site, then it will strain NAWASA's ability to supply.
But that also means you need the beachfront property in order to be able to get access to the water and then implement your desalination plants, etc.
Well, usually it will be from the brackish water inland. It's not going to be on straight from sea. And in fact, most of the hotels, when you don't even know where they are, they're just nicely hidden among, sometimes closer to their back office operations and so on. But it's a requirement. And in addition to that,
is a requirement already in place, or something that we have to do as a nation by implementing this policy?
No, these are policies that are there already.
Okay, good.
Okay, and what is being encouraged, and Cox and Layne would be able to see if that policy is already also entrenched. But you've been hearing a lot about it. NAWASA's office has a nice little model to show everybody what it looks like, and that is the rainwater harvesting. Also, and there are a number of hotels that have the new hotels have it, and there are a number of hotels, older hotels, that have introduced it, and they have even though just to use for say
flushing of toilets and that type of
no, the wetting plants and that sort of irrigation. The word slipped me for a while. All right, irrigation and that sort of thing, so that they don't, as Cox would have mentioned, when it's a dry season, and the rain is not doing the plans for you. At least when you capture that rain, when it does fall, you can then repurpose it and use it, for purposes such as that, and you are not going to be putting a demand on the treated water system.
Okay. Cox, it seems as though the South is going to be taken care of. The other place, and as we looked at the last census, we saw a redistribution of Grenada's population. So whereas the overall population did not increase significantly, the residents of St. George and the residents of St. David increased significantly. How are we with St. David?
Yeah, but just before I go on St. David's, I just wanted to clarify one of the comments that Nigel made, just for the avoidance of doubt in terms of the South. When you ask if, when you turn on the tap, if there's going to be a constant supply, that is going to be heavily dependent on what is happening in any one given year from a rainfall standpoint, because I mentioned in my opening statement, these projects are not the silver bullet for the issues that NAWASA face from a water supply demand standpoint. When the analysis was done for the South St. George project, the conclusion was that, and again, heavily dependent on rainfall, that, and as Nigel rightfully mentioned, the Concord network expansion has to be joined in, coupled with the Annadale to meet the demands, DM demand. Now, just to bring a bit more context to it, now, as an organization and with the responsibility task for water supply and water distribution, we look at Grenada as a whole. We look at all of the water resources, and redistribution is one of the things that we're looking at in a major way. And again, you see all of the expansion that we're doing on Calivini and so on and so forth. What we're doing is widening the network so that we could move water wherever you have more to the areas that you don't have sufficiently. So we come into St. David's where you ask the question. The eastern side of the island is one of our most challenging areas. We have plants like lace avocado that feeds the eastern side. We have the Mamacan water treatment plant. From the minute time you don't have rain for a week, you see a vast drop in the production in the dam and so on and so forth. So we're always very concerned about these areas, and this is what gave rise to the Seven Sisters pumping project, right? And probably talk about that more. This is where we're looking at taking water from Adelphi and pumping it over the granite tank into the Lace Avocado, just to augment the DM supply.
But that's an ongoing project as well. It's
an ongoing project as well. It's part of the G Cruise project.
Part of the G Cruise.
It's part of the G Cruise project. As I mentioned, the redistribution, we're the boreholes that we have in the Shemin area, concerned about that as well, and the not wanting to be able to create over extraction on these boreholes to damage them as they were.
Is a borehole a backup, or do we have a section of our population that are solely dependent on this supply?
We have a section of the population that is dependent on it, but again, as I say, during the rainy season when we have water, we want to be able to rest the boreholes. So during the rainy season, and again, as I say, it's given rise to all of the network infrastructure and planning that we're doing. So what we're hoping to achieve is that during the rainy season, and that is for the best part of 6-7 months of the year, we're able to not use water from the borehole, but convey additional water from the Annadale plant and take it more east, so we could arrest the boreholes during the
You mentioned Calivini. What's taking place in Calivini? Because the people who live, let's say, Wester Hall and certainly in St. David, and they're working in the south, they have a torrid time getting to and from work. So what is this project? NAWASA seem to be digging up the road all about it.
Yeah, it's we say it's the price of development, you would get a bit of inconvenience here and there, and we're trying to manage that as best we can. So in the Calivini area, it's part of the G-Cruise project as well, and as what I'm talking about, the redistribution. We're just trying to augment our conveyance capability, and again with the mandate of arresting those.
So this is really a distribution upgrade that is taking place. Correct. That we see in Calivini.
Correct.
So
correct.
It's a change out of lines. I'm imagining increasing the size of lines. Where
it's the installation of a new line. We do not have a line now that we could move water from Annandale to the east.
Okay.
So the installation of that line is what it is doing. So we're connecting now the Annandale network onto that eastern network that taps into the pipeline infrastructure that comes from St. David's.
Right.
So we could so areas like Fort Judy, Egmont, and so on and so forth. During the rainy season, we could take them off entirely from the borehole supply, and have them connected onto that.
You mentioned that your work is looking at water in the state of Grenada. So let's talk Carriacou. How is Carriacou coping? We had some rains recently. How is Carriacou coping? Certainly coming off of Beryl, and what has NAWASA been doing to reinstate a reliable supply to the people of Carriacou? And Petit Martinique, because quite often we say Carriacou and stop.
Yeah.
But let's start Carriacou and then go to Petit Martinique.
Yeah. Well, again, Colin, it comes back to the mandate, and our mandate has always been to ensure that our tri-island state has a consistent supply of water. Carriacou and Petit Martinique, unlike Grenada, they don't have any rivers, and so we have to get into desalination. So there is a desalination plant on Petit Martinique. There is one on Carriacou. Petit Martinique is smooth sailing. Petit Martinique, they don't even know if it's dry season or rainy season, because the water supply there is consistent. The supply, it's a small community. We do have the regular maintenance shutdown sometime, but it's never prolonged to create issues. Carriacou, on the other hand, the distribution was limited to Hillsborough, and in the recent years we extended it further south to Harvey Vale, and so on and so forth. And we have been consistently looking for grants and embarking on projects which started with previous ministries and continued under these ministries for the expansion of the water supply network for Carriacou. And today we have successfully been able to get grant funding to expand for another desalination plant, another 2 desalination plants on the island. Actually, one, we're going to have a second desalination plant at Seaview in the current location, and then we're through funding with the Italian government, which closed off a couple of weeks ago. We were able to now be part of a grant that is going to add a second desalination plant to Carriacou. So where's
this one going to be located?
We are looking at having this one located on the eastern side of the island, Mount Pleasant side.
My other question too, because you said your distribution network traditionally has been Hillsborough through Harvey Vale. So it means that there's no distribution to, if I get my geography right, it was my weakest subject, but the northern part of the island, but precisely. I just get Windward. And those places.
Right.
Do we have a network that can allow us to get water to Windward? In other words, do we have pipes going to Windward? That's the first step.
Yeah, so I was coming to that. So the projects on conceptualizing them, we had the G-Cruise project, which is doing some work on Carriacou. So when we implemented the G-Cruise project, we identified that the G-Cruise project, we're going to allow the G-Cruise project to do storage and transmission lines on Carriacou. So initially, we had identified installing a tank at Dowe, one at Bel Air, and one at Montreal.
Okay.
All right. We have the project scope would have been reduced, so we maintain the 2 tanks in the high elevation, that is Bel Air and Montreal, collective with the transmission lines to connect them. Right. Now, this project that I've just mentioned that we've just got reinstated under the Italian government is what is going to install the distribution network across the island. So that project started in 2017, and it had gotten to the point of where we were able to purchase all of the pipes. So from 2017 to now, there is a ton of pipes that's just sitting at the CVU plant in Carriacou. COVID-19 and so on and so forth, a lot of issues, that project would have halted, so we've just gotten it reinstated. So as it stands now, we're installing in Carriacou the tanks and the pipeline to connect the tanks, and then in the coming days, maybe early next year, by the time all of the bureaucracies, we get through all of the bureaucracies, we're going to commence the expansion of the distribution network, and we're talking about everything north, east, so Bel Air, Dowe, Windward, Belvedere, Thibault, Mount Pleasant,
So
that whole side
So
of there.
pipe and water coming to those.
Pipe and water coming to those.
Along with a desalination plant to complement.
To complement it, because the current desalination plant now, it's under a lot of stress, and we just only have Hillsborough and Abbeville on it, so it's definitely not going to be sufficient. So again, looking at the demand, we've added that second plant, which should meet the need. So again, it's a transformational time for Carriacou. It's going to have you go to Petit Martinique now and you have people doing gardening, men selling flowers, and because you have water. You understand? So it's a similar thing we anticipate for Carriacou, and you know Carriacou is home for me. So so
excellent. Ronald, the people's cry. So I'm going to each of you as to when we can see relief. When can we see relief on the road systems in Grenville? It's been a year plus. So I know they want to know when can they drive comfortably through, the streets of Grenville, Salisbury Road, and getting to Progress Park and beyond and the like. When can we anticipate that happening?
All right. So for the Grenville area, I can actually tell the residents that you would have realized that the paving has commenced. The contractor has been doing work on Saturdays and Sundays. We expect him to finish on the 22nd of November. But
that's an exact date, huh?
No, it's not an exact date. Don't hold it.
No, the 22nd is an exact date.
Yes, but hold on. let me elaborate a little more. His schedule is for the 22nd of November.
Right.
But for me to go through it and inspect and approve it will take a little longer, because there'll be redeemable works. As you can see, some of the asphalt is not holding. Right. So we know the compaction is an issue. So we will walk through and we will identify these spots to make sure that it will come to the level that you are looking for, back to smooth and where it's at.
Do we have sufficient asphalt on island to resurface St. Andrew?
All these projects?
And then the south, absolutely. That's the question.
Well, I think I've been told that there's more than one plant, right? There's CCCI. I also heard that Renault is also supplying asphalt too. I don't think it's a problem, because CCCI has been producing most of the asphalt in the country so far, and has been, all the plant has expanded, right? So it now can take a larger volume. Right, so actually I don't think there will be a problem.
So your contractors who will be delivering by the 22nd of November have not signaled an issue with the resurfacing?
No.
Go ahead.
Well, we would hear things, right? We will always hear people say some excuse or some reason, but as if it's true, right?
So So my question is, has the contractor said to you, Mr. Senior Engineer, we're good or we're challenged?
They will always say they're challenged, because money is always an issue, right?
No, but that's not, I'm talking asphalt now.
No, I'm giving you the answer.
Right.
if you come to me to do something, right, and I find like, let me say I'm taking too long to do it, first thing I'll jump and tell is, well, I don't have a problem. There might be many reasons for that problem. It might be a financial issue, it might be a resource issue, right, or it could be a human supply issue, but it's which one you'll end up believing, right? As far as I'm concerned right now to date, we should not have no issue. Right? Now you might say, well, Mr. Layne, you're not answering the question directly, but it's not that. There is no issue to date. Right? So I do not expect any problems in going forward. That's why I could tell you that the contractor has given me his word and his completion date.
Okay.
Right? But I can tell you all the G-Cruise project supposed to finish on the 31st of December. We expect all the paving of the roads to be completed before that mandate. Right, so at least the roads will be up and ready. Now, with St. Andrews, as I said before, the roads are being paved right now. The base course is being put down, and I expect to see this work at least completed in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. So UKCIF?
Well, we're actually not going to repave the roads at all. No, what we have going on, the contractor has actually indicated, and we met on this morning, and on Wednesday night, well, you know, it's night works happening on the Grandlands Main Road because of how busy it is during the day. So the contractor has assured us that on Wednesday, which would be Wednesday, the November. Today is what, the 10th?
Yeah, today's the 12th.
No.
Wednesday would be the 12th.
Wednesday would be the 12th, right.
Correct.
So Wednesday the 12th, so the night of Wednesday the 12th, is when the resurfacing shall begin. Okay. Now, I must hasten to say that we're bringing forward the resurfacing because just as with any pipe installation, and as Ronald would have mentioned, the typical chronology would be you install the pipe, you do the temporary, the backfilling, you don't resurface, you complete pressure testing, and then, however, in the instance of the roads down in the south, in the Grandlands, Caliste, Boynes Layne, and so on, the stress that is being expressed by road users, business owners, residents, and so on, is that it is now becoming unbearable for them. That is what they're expressing. So we're actually moving ahead with road reinstatement, the permanent reinstatement, prior to completion of the pressure testing. Now, we might say, well, should we take that risk? It's a calculated risk. Pressure testing has commenced, and the first of the pressure testing has been successfully completed. We are also looking at the experience of Gilbert and Partners Engineering Company in that sort of work, and it's a pretty good track record. So it's really a calculated risk. So we consider that if indeed there is some issue, we don't expect that issue to be pervasive. We don't expect it to be all over. So, and we do have the technology on island to actually find where a leak would occur. We have the sonar technology. So we wouldn't have to be digging up all over to try to find where the leak is.
Let me also ask this, because there's road repair and there's resurfacing. What is going to be taking place?
Well, what we're doing is reinstating as was before. That is what the contract requires for. So if you had a piece of concrete, you had to put back concrete. If you had asphaltic pavement, then you put back the asphalt. If it was grass, we plant vetiver or something, right? So that is why we're using the term road reinstatement. Right. Whatever the surface was prior to commencement of the work.
So it's reinstatement, not resurfacing, because there's still...
Oh no, we're not going right across. It's just where the trench, where the trench is. That's a different project that is intended by the Ministry of Infrastructure to do road resurfacing on...
and that's why I just wanted to make sure that we manage the expectation of citizens. We have constantly seen, and will be guarded against, that we see reinstatement of roads, but it's not reinstated to how it was before, because after we drive on it twice, there's a sink, and we still then it's a rougher ride than it was before. Are there any
that is actually
guarantees that
because
there will be better quality, quote-unquote,
well,
work
that is
being
because
done?
we have not done road reinstatement yet. Everything that has been done so far was always intended
No, I'm not
to be
talking the backfill now. I'm just talking historically, not dealing with this project.
This, what we're doing is putting back to what was before.
Okay.
Minus the little potholes.
Minus the potholes.
Yeah, we're not going to put back the potholes that were there before.
Thank you very much, Mr. John. We're grateful for that.
It's my pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a second break, so we'll take the break. Of course, when we come back, we'd want you to weigh in 440-1252. That would be the number you'll call.
Welcome to Karakou, small in size, rich in spirit. As you step off the boat, you're greeted by smiling faces and warm island vibes. Your adventure begins here. Need a cozy place to stay? The Mermaid Beach Hotel has been a favorite for years. Waterfront views, clean comfort, and located in the town. In Bogles, the Roundhouse Cottages offers rustic charm with a touch of elegance. A peaceful hideaway surrounded by nature. Prefer something private? Dowe Island Villas gives you space, sea breeze, and a home away from home feel. Wake up to the sound of waves and views that stretch for miles. We're ready to welcome you. When are you coming?
Distributed by Echo Blue Limited. Visit us on the Lansopine Main Road or call 405-4818.
Are you looking for a reliable, affordable, and customer-friendly pharmacy? Look no further than Hills and Valley Pharmacy, the nation's leading healthcare products and services provider. We are committed to serving you at convenient locations. Find an extensive and affordable selection of prescription and over-the-counter drugs and medical supplies at Church Street, Hillsborough, Karakou, Jubilee Street, Grenville, St. Andrew, near the bus terminal, and Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George. Our committed team is always available to offer valuable assistance for managing your health and wellness. Discover the additional benefits of our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street and our Medcare Center on Grenville Street, where we provide in-house physiotherapy, massage therapy, doctor consultations, and eye care services. Our commitment is to satisfy all your healthcare needs, including competitive prices, loyalty rewards, and special discounts for seniors. Contact us at 435-6904 and WhatsApp 535-4734. Choose Hills and Valley Pharmacy. Remember, your health is our business.
Greater convenience, smarter control. That's the power of myaccount.grenlec.com.
Pay your electricity bill online.
Submit service requests. View your billing history. And with e-billing, going paperless has never been simpler.
Sign up at myaccount.grenlec.com for access anytime, anywhere.
Viewers and listeners, beyond the headlines, and of course we are addressing the water infrastructure development in Grenada. 440-1252, that's the number you can call in order to weigh in on the conversation. We'll be happy to hear from you. As we look at all of this development, and I know one of the things you mentioned, Whyme, was the aged networks that we have. We heard in a previous conversation the introduction of a non-revenue department, essentially looking at the water that is lost through distribution. Just give us a little update on non-revenue water generation reduction strategies.
Indeed. One of the indicators of any utility or utilities across the world is the performance rather of any utility is how well you manage your non-revenue water. I was recently in Singapore, and the NRW was 1% or 2%.
Right.
They have a slogan where they say every drop counts. I mean, we can't compare ourselves with Singapore.
Right. But we have a caller, so we'll think. So go ahead, caller. Good evening and welcome. Seems we lost that caller.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So non-revenue water, NRW, is, as I say, one of the indicators that indicate
and for our audience, non-revenue water is water that you produce, you put in the lines, but it never reaches the customer.
It never reaches the customer.
Right.
So it's water that you spend money to produce, but you don't get any returns on it. And again, there are a number of reasons for non-revenue water. In the case of NAWASA, and I wanted to make, well, not correct, just comment on the point that you talk about the dirty water in the washing machine. So that stuff that aids non-revenue water, because we do quite a bit of flushing the lines to maintain quality. NAWASA, we were able to maintain our non-revenue water in the vicinity of 20-25%.
So we have a caller, so we'll take the caller, but I heard Singapore 1%, NAWASA 20 to 25%. Right. Good evening, caller, welcome.
Yeah, in Dong family by the decade, the contractor doing a real bad work because they put asphalt there and big drain, then you road.
Okay.
A lot of bad work going up Tivoli side. So why you saying about 2 weeks? That's joking making. Every day after Sunday. And they have to come and repair what they're doing because some bad work they're doing.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. So up Tivoli side, I guess when the inspection starts post November 22nd, that's one of the areas that you'll be reviewing. And what happens? Because, and this was, I was alluding to, we'll get to the non-revenue, but I was alluding to if we're reinstating the road to its original state, we don't expect to have drains after the asphalt.
Well, some of the problems with it, now, I know the area he's actually talking about. That area was highlighted to the contractor. So let him know that it has to be reinstated again, it has to be removed, compacted, and done over. But some of the problems we have faced is, like, for example, when we put on the resurface material, the heavy vehicles that pass on it with load that goes on at one time is where the issues are. Okay. So we would have put it down in some areas and they will pass not too long after because of the width of the road. Somebody has stolen from somewhere and they go down in it. And this is what we are having. We realize that most of the truck tires are what making the impression in the asphalt right now.
So how can do we have to close off the road? Do we have to close off the road to heavy vehicles? Should there be better compacting taking place originally so when the truck pass and they wouldn't sink?
Correct. So it's supposed to have better compaction. Okay. Right? I don't think the compaction was adequate enough. And that is one of the issues that we are mitigating now, to make sure that when they are completed, like what my two colleagues just said, it is back. Being reinstated means being back to its original state or even better.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Just to add to that, Colin, there's in addition to what Mr. Layne said, there's a number of factors that are contributing to what is happening. And I saw you was trying to get from Mr. Layne whether they're, and just going back to the history, one of the reasons why Grenville has stayed so long has been the constant issues in the past with getting the asphalt, and then there has also been issues in terms of the quality of asphalt that was received. Now, the project, we maintain quality control, and the contractor has to do their sampling and get their bearing and so on and so forth. So what you find happen in the past, there are areas of road that was prepared. You the contractor would come back and say, well, we tried to get asphalt. It was limited. He had an issue. The area would have stayed unprepared. Rain fell, it get waterlogged.
You have to start over.
You have to start over. In some instances, and in the interest of time, some areas probably would have been prepped, re-prepped, because checked and passed, right? Stayed a while, re-prep, and you find that some of the base failing, and so stuff like that. So as Engineer Layne said, we'd have to go back and quite a bit of checks, and the areas that are not good would have to be.
We have another caller online. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Well, the man still talk.
Go ahead, caller. Go ahead. We're hearing you.
Good evening, caller, and thank you very much.
Yes.
And good evening to the panel. Hello. You hearing me?
Yes, we are.
So I just wanted to make a few points. One, I have a few concerns. One of my concerns is that it appears as if there isn't any collaborative planning between NAWASA and various stakeholders, the Ministry of Works, etc. I mean, pipes are... And I kept asking the question, why is it that the road is being dug up, the pipes are laid, but there is no repaving of the road? The rain is coming, is digging deeper into it, people's vehicles are being, the shocks and so are being affected. And somebody told me they didn't have asphalt. There's no asphalt to replace the road, to resurface the road. And I am thinking that we need to start as a people and as a government having proper long-term in place. When a road has to be done, for instance, in Canada, a section of road, whether they laying pipes or the resurfacing roads or so, even if it takes 10 years, they would ensure that proper planning is being done to ensure that all of the elements that needs to be involved, all of the entities that need to come on board, they are so involved. All material to be sourced, to be placed on site are there before the road commences. Secondly, they would ensure that single user of that road is being considered in its construction phase. So in Grenada, we find that somebody, it seems, and I stand corrected, that some entity, whether it's government or NAWASA, whoever come up with a plan, it's time for us to lay some pipes. NAWASA say, well, we started now. So they go and they start to lay the pipes, and no coordination with the Ministry of Works. Do you have the asphalt or whatever the material that is needed and the manpower and everything to resurface the road as fast as the pipes are being laid, so that you save cost? Because when the hose become takes much more material in order to fill it up and to resurface it. My second and third point and last point is, when the gentleman mentioned about some road in the country where they dug the road and the big trucks, the heavy equipment and trucks are passing, and then it's creating a problem. Well, my God, can we find some by road? Can we cut off a section of the road? Can we do it on weekends when the traffic is not as busy, to avoid the trucks having to dig up what has already been, and then you keep spending more money because you have to use much more material? I think we need to focus on planning and doing it so with some realistic timelines. And we need to engage all the various stakeholders, because sometimes I feel we don't know what we are doing. And I said, permit me to make this last and final point. Grenada is such a disorderly, lawless place. Imagine you have entities like physical planning to take care of matters pertaining to how far people bail from the road. Imagine, I am amazed, and I have the evidence. You go around the country, people are literally putting the top of the garages or a big portion of the house on the government road, in the road.
All right, understandable,
and when
caller. Yes, and that final point we definitely got in terms of the Planning and Development Authority, needing to step up, but we too as citizens need to step up and obey what the laws are. Do we have another caller online? Okay, we don't. A couple of points, any responses to the queries?
I'd like to respond first to the issue of the pipes being laid and the road not being resurfaced. And I think both Ronald and I spoke to that a little early on, where we said when you lay pipes, you have to do pressure testing before you can reinstate. Because if there are any leaks found, any issues, and you've already resurfaced or reinstated, then you will have to dig up the pavement that you just put down. However, Ronald would have mentioned that the road reinstatement is well underway in the St. Andrew area already, and in the south, I would have mentioned that we are starting on Wednesday night of this week.
We have another caller online. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, I want to say good night to all the gentlemen that are there and for the program. And I want to congratulate NAWASA in the endeavor to give us better water and road. But we're hoping that things should be done better. And we really hope that the standard will be higher set in the road repair, in terms of when you're crossing the road, to put pipe on one side of the road, you have a problem with the road remain very long before it is paved back, and a lot of roads down the side is not properly fixed. So we're hoping to see a better, but we know that it is a tedious job and it has been hard working. But let us bring us up to standard. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, caller. So there is some praise, and it's the bad roads. So there's no problem with the pipes, and if we're going to get water, but the roads remains a challenge.
Yeah. And this is why we had said, at least for our lot, we've decided in the Grandlands area to commence with the reinstatement even before pressure testing is completed, because we do understand that road users and residents and business owners are challenged.
Okay, understood.
But to the previous caller's point about planning, we plan. That's what we do at NAWASA. Every project is planned at every aspect. Unfortunately, we do not own all of the resources. We don't have an asphalt plant. Grenada has had a sole asphalt plant. Engineer Layne, we've just learned that there is a second one that is probably coming on stream. So you are limited. So in as much as you plan, if the plant breaks down, it shifts your planning. And I'd like to come back to the Maribo issue, because in all fairness to the persons on that side of the island, it has been a while. At one point we've literally excavated the road from Maribo to Tivoli without the reinstatement, but that was for a reason. Engineer John just mentioned that the one thing that we do not have on these projects is time. The funding is limited. Right. So while our methodology and our method statement would have consistently said that, and we would have mentioned that in all of the broadcasts that we would have done, that our methodology is excavate, install, pressure test, reinstate, and then you continue. But you don't own an asphalt plant. It breaks down. What do you do? And that is where NAWASA had to be juggling. Do we come and face the nation now and say, well, we didn't want to disrupt the traffic so much, so we didn't continue the project, and tell Grenada that we've lost $48,000 because $48 million, because we were waiting not to disrupt. Okay. So we have
another caller online, but I certainly would want to come back to that point. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Yes. Good night. I have a few points in any case concern water in any case. No. I want to know how harmful chlorine is in the water and things. How harmful chlorine is. Because I say chlorine is cancer, was in any case. It's very harmful for mankind, but we still have chlorine in the water.
Okay.
Now, all these springs are the ingredient, one green are going to see 24 hours a day. Let's establish spring water and bring back the agriculture people. They have to use freezer water to do your crops and things in any case. Is there anything difficult you can put water in Carico from to Carico, Greener to Carico? Water system from Greener to Carico, and it's nothing high in that, you know. Underground. You put the water on St. Patrick's, you doesn't see, you're taking out a few weeks to do it, 2 months, 1 month and a half, less than that. So then we still get water to Carico. You didn't detergent plant water in Carico. We have enough water, enough wasting water, spring water, all kind of water is wasted. I told NAWASA time in the past time, Mr. Husband at time, you know, that run 2 pipes in everybody home. Pipe 1 for your bathroom to bathe is pure water, and for your kitchen is pure water. And run the other water for your toilet and water for your outside your yard and water untreated. Because you building hotels with water preserved and then come back out. If you build a toilet with the water preserved and then come back, that's gone. So we're wasting water in a lot of ways, what preserved, and we getting it back.
Okay.
So if we use the water all by the riverside, you tap the water back for the agriculture people.
All right, thank you very much. With that point, and I've heard the lines are beeping, so we may shortly have another caller. But I think you can comment on what this caller said, but I just want to emphasize that Nigel pointed out one thing we do not have is time. And you hinted to the fact, as I understood it, was that if we don't come in with these projects on time, we stand to lose the money.
Precisely. And
hence we have to move forward with the digging, etc., because the project will lose funding and we can't complete.
Yeah.
Okay, that's correct. So okay, we have another caller online, so let's take that caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Yes, hello, good night to all the panelists. I just want to say I want to commend NAWASA and the various stakeholders for such an ambitious initiative and what they're doing. And thanks for giving a sense of relief that the road in south is going to be recommencing resurfacing very soon. All right, so I think you have a very good technical expertise, Smellos and all you guys, you know, that's very good. But I want to agree with Auntie Colin. Greener really has some lawlessness and disorderly thing going on in it right now. I'm lying. And physical planning, oh gosh, I don't know. We need to either scrap it and build it back and something, but NAWASA, thumbs up, man. You guys doing a good job. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I would leave that one alone. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I was just making the point that what was done wasn't deliberate. It was us making a decision to ensure that we achieve the project objectives with the limitations that we face as a nation, as a small island. Yeah. So just put that out there.
Okay. I also want to add to it. We were able to mitigate what happened in Group 1 with the problem with the late road paving and all of that, and adjusted it now and going forward with the Group 2.
Right.
So like you will see in St. David, we'll be paving even earlier than what you would have seen before when the roads were open. We have already pressure tested, so we have already started to readjust and learn from the mistakes that we had before.
Okay, and that of course is important.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Cox, you started on the non-revenue, and I'm intrigued. 1% Singapore, 20-25% Grenada. We have to address that because of all of the other challenges that we face.
Yeah, and you know, for an organization at 20-25% across the region, they'll tell you that you're doing perfectly okay. I always argue that you are doing okay at 23% if you have extended water resources. We don't. So we literally don't have a choice but to be as tight as we are, and we are appreciating what we're talking about here. So I've just mentioned that we produce just about 8 million gallons per day. At an NRW, 25% of that you're talking about. For every 8 million gallons of water that we produce, 2 million gallons goes into waste.
Right.
That is significant.
Yes.
If you convert that using our rates into
dollars and
cents per day, you're talking about $30,000 loss in water per day. So identifying that and again, the organization's drive just to be more efficient with the resource. We've identified, hey, if we're losing so much, we need to pay a lot more attention to it, and that gave birth to the NRW unit. So we have a dedicated team of guys who is out there constantly looking into the network, identifying the problem areas, the areas where we're seeing that, you know, we're losing water when we check our meters, or like our bulk meter that enters into one area. In other words, we call them DMAs, district metered areas. Right. Yeah. So we're in the process of making sure that Grenada has all of these district metered areas. What are some of the
major areas that we are losing water?
We lose, but I mean, we lose across the island generally. Right. But we tend to concentrate on the more upscale areas, simply because the water consumption is more, and when you identify that there is leaks in these areas, you want to fix them. But we're concentrating on DMAs across the island. We're creating DMAs across the island. So what gave rise to it, as I say, once you on our monthly readings, and so you would see the areas that have these hotspots.
If I'm understanding what you're saying, is that you're basically dividing the island into districts. You're measuring water going into those districts. You then will measure how much water has gone in and how much you can bill. Correct. And therefore, what's the shortage? Correct. Have we always been measuring this, or this is something that has been recently done by NAWASA to get a hold of this problem in terms of non-revenue water?
We've always been doing it, more ad hoc in the past. So we're now taking a systematic approach to it, for better results, more efficiency, and so on. So that's what the NRW unit is actually doing now.
Okay.
I think before you go on, Colin, it will be fair to listeners to have a better understanding as to what, you know, non-revenue water really is, and where the losses occur. And so it's basically you treat the water, you put it into the system, and it may disappear through leaks, it may disappear through theft, it may disappear because, as Cox said, you have to flush because you have a lot of dirty water within the pipes. You open certain valves in areas and you have to flush. So that is the non-revenue water. The three major reasons for non-revenue water: changing the pipes into newer pipes, as Layne would have said. Well, that part of it had to do is not just storage. Part had to do with just updating aged infrastructure. Is that you have a lot of leaks in aged infrastructure, so it is worth
changing the pipes, because that will assist in reducing the
$32,000 to $35,000 per day that you lose. You know, is worth it.
And I think one pipe will cost less than that.
There you go.
Okay. We're quickly out of time, so I would have you each make some final comments. So those customers who are under your purview with the G-Cruise projects, you can feel free to speak directly to them and have closing comments in whatever direction you so desire.
Well, at least I am grateful for your patience, especially on the national roadway. I will still ask when we have experienced sometimes when we put up barriers for you all to avoid. Some people do not take heed to it. We would like you all still, even though you see the barriers and the roads are still not paved, to please proceed with caution, right, and proceed around where we are working and where the barriers are put up, especially in the night times.
Okay. Nigel?
Well, thanks for your impatience. It pushes us to do a lot better. We always say there's nobody got faster by racing slow people. So when you are pushed to do better, that is when you improve. And I would echo what Ronald said. We are aware that we're doing work. We're working at night so that we stay out of persons' way, but we want to make sure that persons continue to give us the support that we need to get this project done. All parties have to work together.
We heard from Ronald December 31st in terms of conclusion of the G-Cruise. UKCIF.
Okay, well, we had a very late start. It's actually the last project on the UKCIF to start in this region. We were way behind the 8 ball. We have a hard stop on the end of March 2026. March 31, the funding would be no longer. So April 1st, and it's not an all fools thing, it literally will be no more funding. So hard stop on March 31, 2026.
Okay.
Yeah. We continue as an organization to try to ensure that Grenada has the best quality water, that our citizens receive good quality water, just to continue to encourage the nation that we're not always aware as to what is happening. So we ask that you continue to, you see a leak, don't assume that we know about it. We just talk about the NRW. We want to continue to bring that down. We don't always we're not always aware of these things, so we want to continue to.
So call NAWASA and put it on, just put it on Facebook.
No, but if you put it on Facebook, make sure that our page is tagged. Tagged. Yeah, so tag is the word, right? Yeah, tag. Yeah, it's tagged so we could see what is happening, right? And yeah. So.
Okay. All right. Messieurs Cox, John, and Layne, we certainly appreciate your sharings with us this evening. Thank you so very much for coming on to this Beyond the Headlines program and speaking of the infrastructural development that NAWASA has been doing over the last year and a half, and some of the things that are projected and the benefits to come. And to you, our viewers and listeners, we certainly appreciate the fact that you were with us for the last 90 minutes, giving up part of your Monday evening to be with us. Always appreciative of that. If you see something, say something. Don't just assume that NAWASA knows. So a little bit more patience for those of you in St. Andrews. It's been a long haul, but as we heard, November 22nd, and then final touches by December 31st, so the new year. And for those of us in the south, hard stop March 31, but the paving will begin on Wednesday. Thank you so very much for being a part of the program, and I look forward to being with you again in the next 6 days, 22.5 hours. Take good care.